We spent the last 2 episodes talking about the dejection that a lot of young people have felt surrounding politics. But dejection in late capitalism is really a broad phenomenon. And it's not just an externality, but it's an asset to the system's viability. Got it. It might sound crazy to say that the system wants you to want to kill yourself. But when you break it down, I think it's really not that radical. I'm not saying rich people are secretly putting chemicals in our water supply that's making us depressed. I'm not saying that. That would be crazy, which is why I'm not saying it. What I mean was articulated best by philosopher Mark Fisher when he said, "Capital is like evolution. It selects for things. Capital has agency." Essentially, if there was a phenomenon that opposed capital accumulation, the system that's posed to promote capital accumulation would address it. And it's precisely because that system can address challenges to itself that it's the dominant system that we have today. We can assume then that a phenomenon as prominent as the widespread depression and dejection that we see today must in some way serve the system, otherwise it would have been rooted out. So what's the nature of our dejection? In 1987, Jean Baudrillard argued that society had reached a point where public and private space had become indistinguishable. As he put it, "Today, one's private living space is conceived of as a receiving and operating area, as a monitoring screen endowed with telematic power, that is to say, with the capacity to regulate everything by remote control." The opening of the floodgates of media that technological developments in late capitalism produced has all but drowned us. And as Baudrillard put it, it is this ubiquity of images, this viral contamination of things by images, which are the fatal characteristics of our culture. And this phenomenon has clearly only progressed since the 1980s. Halftime shows at college basketball games are brought to you by multinational corporations on jumbotrons. We have 24-hour news networks. There are TV channels that let you watch multiple sports games at a time. People are live streaming themselves playing video games. Movies, music, television have all been parceled and offered for constant individual consumption on our smartphones. And on those phones, particularly surrounding social media, users came to be manipulated by algorithms that ensure maximum use, honed by data gathered on users who are constantly being surveilled. Shoshana Zuboff called this surveillance capitalism, a new development in the capitalist system whereby user data is fed into advanced manufacturing processes known as machine intelligence and fabricated into prediction products that anticipate what you will do now, soon, and later.
What the hell are you talking about?
And the result ultimately is endless scrolling. And social media is a terrible place. It's chock full of unrealistic body standards, bigotry, hate, brain rot, consumerism, which is why it's so terrible to think about the role that it plays in our society today. Brain rot, because social media and the digital consumption complex broadly serves in a Marxist sense as a sort of opium of the masses. We turn to it out of what Mark Fisher calls reflexive impotence, a particular sort of dejection where people know things are bad, but more than that, they know they can't do anything about it. Now, Fisher, writing about his experience teaching in the UK, which has gone through similar neoliberal reforms as the United States, said that his students regularly complained about assigned reading that it was boring. Fisher interpreting boring to mean to be removed from the communicative sensation stimulus matrix of texting, YouTube, and fast food. This state could be referred to as depressive hedonia, a depression constituted by an inability to do anything else except pursue pleasure. And why might people feel the need for constant escapism? The 2020s have seen the highest rate of mass shootings in US history. Americans owe $1.6 trillion in student loans. In the fourth quarter of 2024, household debt hit the high of $18.04 trillion. And also, climate change! And it can't be ignored that as these issues have gotten worse, suicide rates have gone up. Between 1999 and 2018, there was a 35% increase in the rate of suicides. So how can you blame the American beat down by debt, medical bills, long work hours, rising rent, who just wants to come home and eat Burger King and scroll TikTok? And this depressive hedonia is a boon to capitalism. Instead of organizing to improve our material conditions, the masses are coping with capitalism by engaging in endless consumption. It's actually kind of brilliant what they've done to us. Unionization, mutual aid, anti-fascist protests, working on campaigns, all of that shit is hard and takes time and honestly, money. Why would anyone do that when there's an app on your phone that lets you watch any anime series that you want? And I know that's not a universally relatable thing that I just said, but it's my fucking video. You can replace anime with whatever you want. And now what this makes space for in our political economy is selective participation. And now that our system is sort of bent towards that already is like very easy to illustrate. If we lived in a democracy, we wouldn't have billionaires buying elections. We wouldn't have an electoral college. We wouldn't have congressional districts drawn along racial lines. Now, what dejection and the subsequent low voter turnout does is skews the nature of the mandate that politicians who get elected actually receive. The second headline following every election should be the extremely high number of people who chose not to vote. However, when news outlets explain to us why they think an election went down the way that it did, what do they cite? Exit polls that ask people why they voted. Missing is why people didn't vote, leaving us with the impression that Republicans are good on the economy and terrorism is super important to the masses. While the pressing reasons that led to people not voting, like inequality, genocide, climate change, issues on the mind of much of the country, seem like they don't actually matter to us. So how then, in our state of depressive hedonia, universal dejection, late capitalist despair, does a populist political movement like Donald Trump's in 2016 come about? Now, two shows which happen to be anime that I really like that address late capitalist despair are Cowboy Bebop and Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I'm looking for some more stuff like that. So comment below your favorite depressing TV show to watch. And also, like, comment, and subscribe so you can keep up with the series and so that publishers will look twice at my book.